Welcome to Putting It Together, the podcast that goes through the entire body of work of Stephen Sondheim, show by show and song by song. My name is Kyle Marshall, your self-described Sondheim expert. So I need to admit to something here at the very beginning. Passion can be a little bit nebulous as far as like what event happens when. At least that's the excuse I'm going to give here. Partway into this episode with a longtime guest, Will C. White, he brings up the fact that this section that we're about to talk about involves the train scene. And I thought that sounded wrong, and I mentioned that in the episode, but kind of let it slide because maybe I'm just getting confused. I admit to being confused in the episode as well. Only discovered that I was right. It's not the train scene that happens at this point. It is a train scene as, Giorgio is off to the train to see Clara again. But this is the point where Fosca kind of grabs a hold of him, kisses him, and he really does rebuff her and is, I do not like you like that. And then it proceeds to write her a letter explaining that they'll never be together again. So that's kind of the setup here. I cut down Will and I's conversation a bit to truncate it because we were confusing this song with a different scene. That all being said, I admit that I was wrong, but we are emotionally right. You can choose whether or not to believe that. All right, we are barreling along into our season on Passion, and I continually find out and discover different things. Hopefully you have been enjoying it as well. I'd love some feedback, though, from the audience out there. Is there anything new that you've discovered while listening to this season? Anything that you have kind of uncovered, perhaps, about Passion that just wasn't there before? Any new insights? Would love to hear them so that I can read them here on a future episode. But until that time, let's jump into this week's episode. William C. White, thank you so much for coming back to the show.
It is a pleasure as always, Kyle. Thank you for having me.
All this time, you've been on so many times now on this show, and I don't know if I've ever asked this, so I'm sorry if this is too much personal information. What does the C stand for?
Oh, it stands for Coleman, which was, I was named after my two grandfathers.
Cole and Man?
No, my first name William is one of my mother's father, and my Coleman is my father's father.
Got you. That makes much more sense than what I thought there for a second. Okay, because you've been here so many times, of course we've heard all of your background as far as musical theater, Stephen Sondheim specifically. Am I wrong to say that you are somewhat indifferent towards Passion?
Oh no, not at all. I'm passionate for Passion.
You're passionate for Passion. Okay, interesting. For some reason I had in my mind that you were not super enthusiastic about it.
Well, here's a question for you, Kyle. When did this podcast begin?
I think it was 2018.
Okay, so I think that I have gotten passionate about Passion since the beginning of this podcast.
Okay, maybe that's it.
I can really date it pretty specifically. I spent one summer working at this place called the Interlochen Arts Camp, which, you'll have listeners surely who have been students there who have heard of it. And anybody who's a musician in the States or in Canada who was like a teenage musician or an actor or singer or something like that, a lot of kids go through this kind of multi-week performing summer arts camp. And I was a conductor there one summer. I had a lot of free time because I was just directing one group. And so most of the people who are teaching there are teaching many lessons during the day. They're coaching kids on sectionals, they're on their music and this and that and the other. And I just didn't have to do any of that. And a lot of people who go there have been there many, many summers. So they have these kind of cliques. And I didn't really know anybody. And I found one friend who we were pretty evenly matched in ping pong. So that was a source of enjoyment. But for the most part, I had a lot of free time. And I had a project, sort of almost like a graphic design project. I was helping a composer with the layout of their score. And so when you're doing that, it's not really a musical thing. You can listen to music while you're doing it because it's very much visual. And I just thought to myself, Passion is it's like this project I've never taken on. But at that point I had so accepted Stephen Sondheim as my Lord and Savior that I was like, well, it's got to be amazing. If I would just submit to myself, if I would myself to it, I should say, I'm sure that it will enchant me. And so I listened to it very frequently. Probably the whole thing, maybe once or twice through a day during that summer. This would have been 2019, I think.
Okay.
And I totally fell in love with it, and now I think it's amazing. What about you?
Oh, well, I guess Gosh, I don't know when. I don't have a specific date like you did. I will say this: Passion was, I guess, up until Here We Are, like the last one that I really like locked in with, because Bounce, Roadshow, Wise Guys, whatever you want to say with that, was something I've listened to a couple of times. I was like, okay, I guess I get it. I don't know. That season's going to be very interesting because that is the one I'm somewhat indifferent towards. But Passion was always this one that's like, ooh, this feels like I'm not smart enough to get it. Like, I could tell that there was something there, but I was just too young as a 19-year-old, I think, when I first tried to get into it. So like you, once this podcast started, I was like, I should probably start to familiarize myself with the whole breadth of the work rather than just like the 5 shows that I'm very, very knowledgeable about. And so Passion became the original Broadway cast, at least. That album started becoming something I kept listening to more and more and more. So to the extent of it used to be my background music when I was doing stuff, either around the house or working on writing projects or that kind of thing, just having that kind of in the background. And I don't know if that was just like Stockholm syndrome or what happened, what have you, but like soon it kind of like hooks into you.
I know, it's just like Fosca herself, that show, you know?
Well, I think that
totally has that quality.
I mean, this is the thing, like content, Sondheim always talks about content dictating form. As much as we're breaking this up into songs, like it really isn't song based, right? These are not just numbers that you're going into and performing like a beginning, middle, and end and having like character motivations or like inner thoughts being brought to you. It is one piece of music over an hour and a half that kind of comes in and out of like book scenes and stuff like that. So I think when you lock into that kind of idea, so basically, I mean, when you listen to this whole score start to finish, that really starts to hit home a lot more. When you get to that very final piece, it's like, oh, all of these things kind of come together and you finally get the resolution that I think you've been craving. And when you just try and look at it for songs or skip around through the score, it doesn't, I don't know if it hits as much as if you listen to it as a full piece as it's intended to be. So I would say like I really locked into Passion, I don't know, last 2-3 years specifically, where it's like, oh yeah, I can keep coming back to this and there's more stuff I'm getting out of it. And honestly, this season even so far, going through lyrics again, I was like, oh my gosh, there is other stuff that I just didn't realize was here that you start to unlock a little bit more. I don't know if you agree with this. I think part of the issue, at least on the original Broadway cast, I think it's a little bit different on some of the other versions I've listened to. I find Donna Murphy and Marin Mazzie, maybe I'm just voice deaf or something like that. I don't know. They sound very similar to me. So sometimes I don't know which one is singing. And this actually becomes a problem in this song we're about to come up to, because you need to know which character is singing what and at what time. And if you think, like I did for many years, that this was just one character singing, is like, this seems so like all over the place and fractured and weird. I don't understand what's going on.
Oh yeah, that would not make a lot of sense.
So anyways, there's that to it too. It's just my own dumbness. Maybe you can then describe here a little bit, maybe the idea of it's a rhapsody is what I think Sondheim defines as that. Can you, I don't know, throw people towards other famous rhapsodies that we should check out?
Well, I mean, you know, there's so many raps. I mean, there's the Liszt Hungarian Rhapsodies. There's, of course, Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. There's Debussy has Rhapsodies, one for clarinet, one for saxophone. Yeah, I mean, but the Rhapsody just means like it's whatever you want it to mean. It's so generic. It's like fantasy. You know, I mean, that's another term of art that's used in classical music. So rhapsodic as a word. I mean, it's, you know, sort of a journey, right? And probably has a lot of twists and turns to it. I think that Sondheim is using it to mean something that's kind of free form, the way that you're describing, like one long thing that follows its own shape and its own pace.
My other question I've been asking a lot of people is whether or not you have any like hot takes on this. I guess I should ask first, have you seen a production of this show?
Nope. Except for the pro shot, like many times.
So yeah, never a live one.
Never live.
But I guess, yeah, any hot takes you have with this show overall?
No, I just think it's great.
That's my hot take, is that it's super good.
What are the hottest takes that you've heard? Like, what do people have to say?
I think that there are some people who, I guess it's not about the show specifically, but about certain productions actually nailing some of the themes a little bit better than what the original Broadway cast does.
Oh, really? Okay.
I do think it's hard for me to really cast my critical lens back to 1994 specifically, because if you read up about it, like audiences were not very kind to this show contemporaneously when it debuts, to the extent of, at least in previews, like applauding when Fosca dies. So, that kind of vitriol, which I don't think would really happen nowadays. A, because we know what the show is going into it. And B, I just think we've seen other media tackle complex women or complex characters specifically in different ways. So I think we're a little bit more educated on that front.
Right. There's more of a base level sympathy for anti-heroes, for female characters, complicated female characters. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I would also say, I think even though the novel is entitled Fosca, and Fosca gets a lot of the print traffic, I guess, for talking about this show, I think the big learning for me delving more into this is that this really isn't a show about Fosca. This is a show about Giorgio. And I think the productions that really focus on his journey, I think those are the ones that are the most successful, rather than just this is a wacky woman who's like coming into the narrative and like pushing him towards her.
Yeah, I mean, he's the character who has the arc. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
And what an arc it is. Hi everyone, just Kyle breaking into the conversation to tell you about some of the people that help this show continue to go. If you'd like to help support the show for absolutely free, you can give a rating and review on whatever app you listen to podcasts in. That's of course greatly appreciated. Putting It Together is an independent podcast, so if you'd like to help monetarily, which will only help to grow and make this show better, you can do so over at our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/puttingittogetherpodcast. Please do not donate if it impacts you negatively financially. I also need to give a huge thank you to the God That's Good tier from Patreon. That's Alex, Barry, Christopher, David, Jack, Luis, Michael, Mika, Robert, Stephen, and Whitty. All right, let's get back to the show. All right, so what are we talking about here today?
Well, we're doing a chunk with a couple of transitions centered around the trio.
Yeah, the trio, sometimes on some recordings called the fifth letter. But yeah, it's this kind of small chunk here right after the garden sequence. If you can recall, can you set people up as far as like what's leading into this? Like what has just happened and what are we moving ourselves into?
Well, you're going to have to tell me how far back to go. I mean, I guess, the garden sequence is when Giorgio and Fosca have their first, like, that's when, the claws are starting to go in, like, she's starting to really make her impression. And I guess that kind of freaks him out a little bit, we should assume, because then is the next scene where they're at the dining table with the officers, and Giorgio suddenly asks for a 5-day leave to go to Milan, and the captain is somewhat taken aback by this. I mean, he's not happy about this at all. And he says, you've only been here for a month. I'm only granting this request because it's the polite thing to do while we're all sitting at dinner together.
Yeah, I now forget if this is in the show. It's definitely in the book and in the movie, though, where he says, like, if you had given me a letter or written a note about this, I would have said no. But because you're asking me in person, I have to say yes to you.
Yeah, that's in the show, too. I think he has that line.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's off to go and see Clara again. And then within this sequence, of course, he is about to go when Fosca kind of blocks his way and says, like, please write me a letter. Write me a letter when you get to your destination. Promise me you're going to write me a letter. And he basically is like, fine, yes, I'll write you a letter. That's basically the setup we need to know what's going on here in this.
Well, and I guess also, and I can't remember how this exactly reveals itself, but she, at that dinner sequence, she has hidden a letter for him underneath his plate, right? And so that's going to be echoed in the first transition that we're looking at.
Well, let's talk about that first transition here, because it's pretty short and sweet. This is sung by the group of soldiers, and they sing, all the time I watched from my room, thinking we'd meet, thinking you'd look at me, thinking you'd be repelled by what you saw. Don't reject me, don't deny me, understand me, be my friend. They hear drums, we hear music, be my friend.
All the time I watched from my room, thinking we'd meet, thinking you'd look at me, be repelled by what you saw. Don't reject me, don't deny me, understand me, be my friend.
So why won't he be her friend?
It's a great question. I think that he's asking himself that. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously an echo of the letter that she's written, and they're singing it as part of the scene transition to the rail depot that he's going to get on the train and go to Milan.
And it should also be said that some of this letter is also echoed back to lyrics that have been sung in the garden sequence as well. So there's like a couple of different layers going on here. But yes, it's as far as I understand, meant to emulate the letter that was hidden away that he's reading.
And, I mean, some of the things you can say about this is just that, like, this is the less clever rhyming Sondheim that we, have come to love and expect. I mean, there's not much in the way of rhymes. There's some repetition, but passion is so quotable. There are great lines. I mean, and so they hear drums, we hear music, is I just think one of the classic quotable quips from this show.
Yeah, it's not like it's a clever rhyme or anything like that, but it's such an evocative sentence to sum up what her feelings are towards him. So absolutely. But the thing this has been true in other Sondheim shows, but I don't think any more prevalent here, where you could just read this as a sentence if you wanted to, right? Like, it's broken up into stanzas or into a lyric here, but like, all the time I watched from my room thinking we'd meet, thinking you'd look at me, thinking you'd be repelled by me, be repelled by what you saw. Like, these are just short declarative sentences that she is.
It's poetic. I mean, it's not prosaic.
Do you have any other insight into that? I've brought this up a couple of times in past recordings here now. Like, Fosca will occasionally rhyme in her lyrics, but most of the time does not. I actually think it does. It's more important when she rhymes, the few times that happens. But do you think there's anything to that? And kind of intentionally so, she is not trying to be poetic or rhyming in her verses.
Well, I mean, it's not just her, right? I mean, there's not all that much rhyming in the show. And I think that leaves the lines open-ended. It means that he's not writing in these closed forms where you have, an A, B, A, or something like this. And so I think that allows for this rhapsodic quality that we were talking about, where lyric can spill into dialogue in a more natural, free-flowing manner.
I mean, what it kind of reminds me of? I hadn't thought about this until yesterday. It really reminds me of Sunday from Sunday in the Park with George, where it's just like a really run-on sentence for the entirety of that song. And this is basically almost, I wouldn't say it's completely, but almost an entire show of just like a run-on sentence from all the characters speaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just show my hand here. I don't think that there's any major significance here. Do you think there's a significance, though, of the soldiers being the ones who sing this transition?
Well, it's like that's who he's got. I mean, who else is going to sing it?
On stage.
And they've got to do the scene change. So
it's the same thing on the other end of this, where it's the attendants who are singing the transition into the next scene. It's like, that's the people who are on stage. So we'll just have the people who are on stage sing this portion. Right. Okay, well, we then get into
there's a very intense train station.
But that's not yet, is it?
That's not yet. Okay.
That's after this scene, actually.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I do agree, though, that train scene is intense, but that's a different song, or a different scene, I should say. Or is it? Am I wrong?
I think it has to go to the train station because Giorgio is about to leave on the train, and when he gets to Milan is when they're going to do the trio.
It all runs together, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's hard to keep track. Reveals her extremely over-the-top emotions in this scene. And I know that he said, that was among the many things that was hard for contemporary audiences to take this 19th century style and presentation, to take it seriously, and that there was a little bit of laughters and stuff. But the other thing he said, I was just watching the commentary, the DVD commentary.
Yeah.
And he said, I mean, this show has a reputation that it was so rejected by audiences and people were laughing and clapping and this and that. But he said, they worked out the kinks by about the 10th day of previews. He said, by the time it opened, it was working as they intended it to.
And I've actually have talked to some people here now who saw the original production, and they kind of echo that same sentiment, where like there definitely was a pocket of people who might have been like pushing away at what was happening on stage, but it wasn't like open hostility after that preview period,
right?
At least from their perspective. Sometimes these things might get a little overblown
Right.
as reported.
So yeah, so then so she begs him to write to her while he's in Milan for these few days, and then it seamlessly transitions to him being back with Clara, and then we get the letter that he has written to Fosca and the reconnection of Giorgio and Clara, and that's all happening at the same time in this most operatic of numbers in an already operatic show.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more theatrical stagings that are going on, and kind of a great, brilliant way of portraying what's happening. So we have the meeting of Clara and Giorgio again, and they're singing to each other while Fosca reads a letter that intersperses what we'll hear their happiness with her realization of what Giorgio has written to her. I'm just impressed because he's gone for 4 days, you said, that she gets a letter like the next day. Right. That was a very quick delivery service.
Well, the trains were up and running by this time.
I'll kind of point out who is singing what here, but Fosca starts reading the letter and sings, "I am writing to you, Signora, just as soon as I've arrived with a most unhappy heart." And Giorgio is singing, "God, you are so beautiful." And Fosca goes, "I do not wish to cause you pain, Giorgio, as I remember every night." Fosca, "So please consider what I say." Giorgio, "Clear and beautiful." Fosca, with calm. Giorgio, "Every night, every day, every part of you." Fosca, "My heart." Clara sings, "You feel so good."
I am writing to you, Signora, just as soon as I've arrived with a most unhappy heart.
God, you are so beautiful.
I do not wish to cause you
As I
pain.
remember every night.
So please consider what I say.
Clear and beautiful.
With calm.
Every night, every day, every part of you.
My heart. You feel so good. My heart beats.
Well, thinking about it now, you've got to imagine actually that Giorgio wrote this letter on the train. The point that you brought up, for one thing, she receives it while he's still away. And he says, "I'm writing you just as soon as I've arrived." But clearly this was nagging on him, right? So just the fact that this letter was written so quickly and that it arrived, he might have sent it literally with the post on the train back as soon as he got there.
And definitely something I brought up in the episode on the first 4 letters. I'm pretty sure this is true. You never really hear what the person writing is feeling while they're writing a letter. You only it's only being sung by the person who's received and is interpreting what the letter means. And I think that is an important difference, right? So Fosca's obviously reading this, and it's not like great news that she's reading. This is devastating towards her because he's basically saying, like, listen, I'm going to someone I love, and you are not the person I love. So we need to be very clear on what's going on. Yeah. So he's setting boundaries. I'm saying this is good for him. He's setting clear boundaries. Yeah,
he's trying to set boundaries, isn't he? But sure. You're communicating with a boundaryless person, so it's not going to work out that well for him.
It is interesting. I won't do this for the entire letter here, but it does. It makes more sense when you listen to it or watch it staged, I would say. But the letter does make sense, even though it's being interspersed here with other things. But if you just read just the letter portion, right, it's like, "With a most unhappy heart, I do not wish to cause you pain, so please consider what I say with calm. My heart," and then he'll go on to say, "My heart belongs to another." So it's like him trying to be as clear as he possibly can, while these other characters are interjecting as she's reading her letter.
Yeah, this is really a pivotal number. It really is the start of the cross of this Venn diagram between that turns into this love triangle, and it's like, that he believes what he's writing at this point, and yet something. I think it is telling just that he dashed this off so quickly. Because in a way, it's like he wants this to be done, right? He wants to stick with what he's got, with what he's comfortable with, this beautiful woman who's waiting for him at home. And he wants to be rid of her. But clearly there's something that started to percolate in terms of his attitude towards her.
There's a bunch of different things here. Something I'm reiterating here throughout the entire season is the fact that while this is absolutely a love triangle, it's a love triangle where the other, the two women never meet. They're never in the same room with each other, but they are kind of pitted against each other. And then also there has been this wonderful seeding in the very first part of this show of the letters that Clara and Giorgio are sending back and forth start as love letters back and forth, but he always brings up Fosca. He's continually bringing up Fosca into his letters. So he's talking to the woman he supposedly loves, but spending most of the time talking about this other woman. So there is this interesting thing where it is weighing on him. We can see it's been weighing on him. And even this, like, as soon as he arrives in Milan, he's putting a letter into a mailbox, or I don't know how it worked back then, probably to a train operator or something. And then, like, this is not something that he can just, like, forget about. He has to, like, expunge it.
Yeah, I mean, I said it's like this Venn diagram. I mean, I think a better way of a better analogy would be it's an eclipse, really. You know what I mean? Fosca is like the moon covering up the sun, and you know, of course, that's the play of light and dark that is symbolized in their names. But yeah, it's starting. It's started here.
All right, so this next part is just a very short section, but Fosca continues reading, going, "My heart belongs, Clara, as if you'd never been away. Fosca, my heart belongs to someone else." Clara says, "Your breath so warm, your touch so sure. Giorgio, your skin so delicate. Clara, your arms so strong." And Fosca says, "I am in love, hopelessly in love."
My heart belongs as if you'd never been away. My heart belongs to someone else. Your breath so warm, your touch so sure.
Your skin so delicate.
Your arms so strong. I am in love, hopelessly in love.
You know, it's setting up this contrast. I mean, that's what this song is about, and we're about to get to the recurrence of the happiness motive.
Correct.
And of course, that's really what this is about: happiness versus passion. You know, I mean, this song, this scene really sums up the show. It's really a microcosm of the whole thing.
I mean, this has been true in other shows that we've talked about, like, not musically at all is it similar, but I'm reminded of Sweeney Todd and the song Wait, which is like a song that I think is so integral to understanding the whole theme of that show. And I could see someone not understanding the show very well saying, "Oh, we're going to cut this one. It's like not the most melodic. It's not the most interesting necessarily staging wise. But if you don't hit that, then everything else doesn't make sense, at least musically for me." This is such a similar placement inside of the show where it's like, we need to hammer this home. We really need to make sure we hit this point so that the rest of the show can play out the way that it does. We are playing around with, like, it's passionate love or like lustful love versus like an actual like emotional connection with somebody. These are two different things that we're playing around with here that we're kind of just seeding into the narrative so that all gets paid off by the end. At least that's true for me.
Yeah, well, and I actually think that musically there are a lot of similarities between Passion and Sweeney. The more I listen to it, the more I hear it.
Oh,
and
okay. Like
I mean, even look at the first chords of Passion. You know, those very dissonant, like orgasmic chords.
Yeah.
I mean, those are maybe slightly milder versions of Sweeney chords, of some of the more intense moments from there.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that up, that at the beginning of this song Trio, there is that sting that comes through the rest of the score. It's like brown, like it comes back all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hear it a lot, and I think that some of the I mean, there is that epistolary quality of Sweeney. You know, we get letter writing, and maybe it's just how how Sondheim kind of wanted to characterize the 19th century in music. I don't know, but I think that there are milder versions of a lot of musical, the musical qualities of Sweeney that permeate this score.
This is how it continues on here. So Fosca says, "Hopelessly in love, and I'm loved hopelessly in turn, Signora." Giorgio and Clara sing "All This Happiness." Fosca goes, "You and I." And then the couple goes, "Being here with you in the dark." Fosca, "We're not meant for each other." And the couple goes, "So much happiness." Fosca goes, "If I seem to imply something more." And the couple goes, "Even more than what I felt before." Fosca goes, "I apologize." Couple goes, "To feel your touch again." Fosca, "But since we're forced to be together." Couple says, "When so much time has passed." Fosca goes, "Let us try to face the fact." And then the couple says, "To dream of you and then to be with you again and have some time at last."
And I'm loved, hopelessly in turn, Signora.
All this happiness,
You and I,
being here with you in the dark.
we're not meant for each
So
other.
much happiness.
If I seem to imply something more than what I felt before, I apologize.
To feel your touch again.
But since we're forced to be together,
So much time has
let us try to face the fact.
to dream of you and then to be with you again and have some time at last.
Let us both behave with tact.
So there's the one of the few rhymes that we have here in the show, past and last.
Then and again.
That's right.
It's interesting that Clara and Giorgio are saying all this happiness, which is, of course, a recurrence of the theme, being here with you in the dark. I mean, Fosca is supposed to be the dark one, but, their trysts are taking place in the dark, right? So, I mean, is that the relationship that's really, needs light shown upon it? And so there, that's sort of a contrast there.
I think that's the interesting part of this, even the source material to this. You mentioned how Clara's name, especially in Italian, meaning, clear sun, bright, that type of thing. Fosca meaning dark, night. But contrasted absolutely with how they interact with Giorgio. Clara's always in the dark. Fosca's always in the light. She wants to bring things out into the light, sort of thing.
Yes.
So anyways, yeah, this is a constant metaphor that gets played with throughout the rest of this show. Clara, even though she's bright, wants everything in the darkness. Fosca, who's dark, always wants everything brightened up or brought out into the sunlight.
Yeah, and musically, this section, I mean, this is where Sondheim really lets the melodies soar. And have some time at last where they sing in, sixths or tenths or something like that. It's very, very beautiful.
I love the happiness melody anyway. So it's such a great idea to start the show off that way for at least, okay, it feels like there's a melody going on here.
Yes.
And then this is kind of a return back to that. Like, oh, okay, we're back into this where we started the show here. But as we've noticed, like with these little foreshadowings of there's cracks in this veneer, right? There's things that are not exactly 100% going on with this couple, even though they say that they're so happy together. Which I just want to point out feels very true to real life. I always find the people who have to make a point of saying how happy they are is like, there's something going on. There's something happening. Or I'm just jaded. I don't know. Either way, that's how I feel.
Pourquoi pas les deux?
Actually, anything specifically talking about characters, I know that she's not seen all that much, but is there anything that you want to bring out about Clara specifically?
I mean, she's a character who's bound by circumstance. I mean, I think that's the main thing that we understand about her. And it would be easy to see her as frivolous, but in the later scenes, where Giorgio is confronting her and saying like, well, you've got to leave your husband. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like this, are you crazy? I mean, you see that she's no dummy. Like she knows she's a woman of the world. Like she gets how constricted she is, what her possibilities are, what the possibilities for them are. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like he's the naive one, really, when it comes right down to it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just because I just recently rewatched this movie or not, but I recently rewatched Fatal Attraction here a few days ago. Not that this has really anything in comparison to him, except for this one piece, which is like, if people don't know, it starts off with a man having an affair, in this case Michael Douglas with Glenn Close, and then she kind of goes crazy on him. He says like, we both knew what this was. Like you knew I was married. I never made that be a secret. This was like a one-time thing. I made that very clear. And I feel like Claire is similar in setup here, and not necessarily being like it was a one-time only thing, but it's like she told him she was married. He knows she has a kid. She's not going to divorce her husband in 19th century Italy. We have to be realistic here. This is never going to end well. And you thinking that there was ever going to be a future with us, that's on you. Because I never said that that's what it was. I just wanted the dark little room that you keep coming back to, right? This might have been improved, though, if she boiled a rabbit at the very, very end of this show. But alas, they were not that forward thinking in 1994. Okay, so this is how the song ends. So Fosca goes, let us both behave with tact. And the couple goes, how long were we apart? Fosca, if this letter seems cold-hearted. The couple, a month, a week, a day. Fosca, it conceals my own distress. Nonetheless, the couple, to feel your touch again. Fosca, we must end what never started. And the couple goes, you've never been away. Fosca, you must recognize. Clara, still I've missed you. Fosca, there is nothing. Giorgio, hush. Fosca, between us. Clara, so much. Fosca, nothing. Giorgio, shh. I'm here now. Fosca, nothing. Clara, welcome home.
Let us both behave with tact.
How long were we apart?
If this letter seems cold-hearted,
A month, a week, a day.
it conceals my own distress. nonetheless.
To feel your touch again.
We must end what never started.
You've never been away.
You must recognize.
Still I've missed
there is
you.
nothing between us.
So much.
Nothing.
I'm here now.
Nothing. Nothing. Welcome home.
I've watched you from.
I would just say, a general thought about this song is that it is so much the stuff of opera, this kind of thing, where you have multiple characters expressing contrasting thoughts simultaneously. Of course, it's not the only time Sondheim has done something like this. I mean, comes immediately to mind is Getting Married Today, from Company. But in an operatic score, I think that this is about as operatic as it gets. But he weaves everything together so cleverly that you're always can keep track of what's being said and the logical sequence of each character of each side of the scene. As the letter is being revealed and the dialogue between the two of them is being revealed, but he plays one off the other extremely expertly, so that you get the contrasts of thoughts kind of ping-ponging off of each other. So I just think it's an amazing bit of writing here.
It's an amazing bit of writing because it doesn't feel like when you watch this be staged, it doesn't feel like Fosca is doing like weird pauses or something between sentences. Like she's reading through this letter at like a normal pace, maybe pausing here and there for taking in the information she's reading. And then there's the couple singing together as well, but it doesn't feel like they're just taking turns back and forth. It feels such a natural progression through things. And I'm so glad that, I don't think this song calls for it. And I think Sondheim is smart enough to understand that. But there is always that impulse that Sondheim had in some other shows that he's had where people sing over top of each other, right? So different things are going on and people are singing different lyrics all at the same time, where you can't necessarily pick out what each person is saying. But I think it's important that you do. Yeah, exactly. Or like, Weekend in the Country is another one where there's sometimes just overlapping things where it's like, I have no idea what anyone is saying right at this very second. But I think it's important in this case, like we actually do need to hear what each of these people is saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, Weekend in the Country, that's more like Rossini. This is a little bit more like Mozart or Verdi, where you can, or I guess Mozart is sort of that jumble of things a lot of the time too. But it's Sondheim gets a lot of. I think the reason why it doesn't feel awkward, the ends, the trade-off, is because he has each side of the scene holds. They sustain their notes at the end of these phrases in a way that feels very natural and musical. So the musical logic gives him a chance to bring in the scene logic of contrasting the two bits of dialogue and information. And it's just so beautiful. It's just so wonderfully woven together.
I feel like him and Lapine must have like a high five when they conceived of this. It like it just comes together so well. This, of course, thing gets all wrapped up with the transition number 3. And it's just the attendants who are cleaning some things up, singing, "I've watched you from my window. I saw you on the day that you arrived. Perhaps it was the way you walked, the way you spoke to your men. You were different then. You were kind and good. I thought you understood."
I watched you from my window. I saw you on the day that you arrived. Perhaps it was the way you walked, the way you spoke to your men. You were different then. You were kind and good. I thought you understood.
I guess the final statement would just be, to kind of tee up whatever you guys are going to talk about on your next episode, which I believe would be when Fosca dictates the letter that she wished that Giorgio would write to her. It's probably 1 or 2 episodes down the line for you here, but it's like this is the letter that he wrote, and then in the most just breathtaking coup de théâtre, she takes the reins and forces him to write the words that she wants to hear. And
Yes.
I mean, that is just an episode in the story, is I think one of the first things that really stuck with me. It's like, wow, this is incredible. What a force of nature to do this. So I think that, the two scenes or the two letters are a study in contrast once again.
Yeah, it's like it's such a great dramatic trick. I don't know how else to describe it, but like someone being forced to write something that they don't believe at this point, so that the other person can feel like, oh, it's in their handwriting. I can get so much value out of this, but she's forcing him to write these feelings. It's like this weird power play grab that's going on.
It's amazing. I mean, it's so revealing of her character.
Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. This has been really great. There is a final question that I've been asking everyone here during this Passion season. So, as I've been telling everyone, you can take this in whatever direction you choose. But because the show is called Passion, right now, what would you consider the thing that you're the most passionate about?
I'm one of these very lucky people where my life's passion is my life's work. So, I mean, my passion is great music. That's the best way I could put it. And, I am a composer and a conductor, and, I have the privilege of making my living performing some of the greatest music that's ever been written. So, I mean, like you asked me before we started recording, like, what's my next thing? And I've got a performance of the Bach's B minor Mass coming up, and it's like, that's just what more could I have asked? Like when I was a teenager, obsessed with classical music, than to get to live and breathe this amazing stuff. So, I just consider myself very privileged and lucky.
Well, if people wanted to stay in contact with you, see what you're up to, what is the easiest way to do so online?
At this point, you just go to my website, and God bless you if you do. So it's willcwhite.com, WILLCWHITE. And the reason I would really send people to there right now is that I released an album earlier this year, just about 2 months ago, of solo piano music, some of which is rather inspired by Stephen Sondheim. So there's a collection of bagatelles, and there's a suite and a sonata. And if you want to hear my kind of homage to Sondheim, listen to the 10th bagatelle on this album of my solo piano music, which is very easy to get to from my website.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you so much for listening. You can send emails to puttingittogetherpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow Sondheim Podcast on Instagram. This is an independent production, and you can support the show on Patreon by going to patreon.com/puttingittogetherpodcast. Putting It Together is available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere you get podcasts from. Consider subscribing so that you never miss an episode. Next week, we're going to be talking about I Wish I Could Forget You. Pretty much my thoughts on every ex I've ever had. As always, a big thank you to the great Chris Taniguchi, who designed the podcast artwork, and Nick Driscoll for composing our theme music. Well, we've reached the end of our episode. Yes, I know. Goodbye for now.